Okay, so I want to start by giving you a couple of tips about things that I wish I had known about healthy eating in Las Vegas before I actually went. So, the first thing, be aware that while there are lots of different eating options, both healthy and non healthy, especially if you don't have a car, which we didn't, I went with my mom, we flew in and we stayed at the Flamingo Hotel on the Strip, that you are going to be a little bit more limited as to what you can access without paying for Ubers, and that the food on the strip is the most expensive. And like I said in my little intro, they don't have buffets anymore like they used to have, that used to be cheap back in the olden days, if you will, like 20 or 30 years ago. And so, food there is just really, really expensive, whether it's healthy or not healthy. So even things like bottled water was like $6 for one bottled water. It was just really super ridiculous. So a couple of things to keep in mind. One of the main things is that I really wish when I had was planning and preparing and packing and things like that, that I had brought some more snacks and food from home. And so does my mom. My mom really wishes that too. Now, we do both live in Utah, so we don't live that far away. So, this was just a short 4-day trip. We could easily have brought, snacks and other things with us. We didn't opted not to check luggage, so bringing anything that was liquid would not have been wise or really practical. But maybe we would have checked luggage if we had known how expensive a lot of the food is there in Las Vegas. And so that's just the first thing that you want to keep in mind. One of the main things is that I really wish when I had was planning and preparing and packing and things like that, that I had brought some more snacks and food from home. And so does my mom. My mom really wishes that too. Now, we do both live in Utah, so we don't live that far away. So, this was just a short 4-day. So, what we actually did is we actually used Uber for, going to and from some places, and it still was a lot cheaper than renting a car. And what we did is on the second day there, after we realized how expensive everything was, and we didn't want to spend more on our food than we spent on the shows and the entertainment or even the hotels, is we took an Uber to Sprouts grocery store. So what we actually did is we actually used Uber for, going to and from some places, and it still was a lot cheaper than renting a car. And what we did is on the second day there, after we realized how expensive everything was, and we didn't want to spend more on our food than we spent on the shows and the entertainment or even the hotel, and we just went there and we were able to get like a whole thing of like 32 bottles of water for $4 instead of, the ridiculous $6 per bottle of water. And we got, food for really, like sandwiches, and I'm gluten free, so I got like these brown rice gluten free wraps, and then we got, like some salad stuff, and then even just like some different fruit and different things for breakfast, even some already cooked hard boiled eggs, different things like that. And so that worked out really well. And we mostly, after that first day and the sticker shock of eating, paying $30 for basically a turkey sandwich and some fries, which was just ridiculous. Now, they did have gluten free bread, so that was good for me, but the price was just really too expensive. We got enough food that basically, I want to say we only ate out 2 other times after that, the rest of the other 4 days that we were there. And one of the places that we did find that we did eat out, so you can see the picture here now, this is the Diablo's Cantina inside the Luxor Hotel. So the Luxor Hotel is the fancier hotel. It looks like a pyramid. That is where the Blue Man Group was performing, and that was one of the shows that we went to. And so we ate out here. I didn't do a good job, well, actually at all, didn't take any pictures of it. So unfortunately, this is, the only picture I have of it from online. But basically, we were able to get some really good, super filling fajitas with beans and rice, things like that. For, I think it was about $20 a person. So, it was definitely anything less expensive than our expensive turkey sandwiches, which, in case you're wondering where it was at a restaurant inside the Caesar Resort Hotel. And, it was good, but it was just way too expensive. So then this right here is the picture of the flamingos at the nature preserve at the Flamingo Hotel. So, like I said, since we stayed at the Flamingo Hotel, we were able to go outside and enjoy that. Just thought I would throw that in here. But yeah, it was just crazy to us how expensive any and all of the food was at all of the resorts. It wasn't just at the Flamingo. We went into several other hotels and casinos, and yeah, like I said, that one place in Luxor was like the most reasonable place that we could find. Then right here we have a picture of some of the flowers in the atrium at the Bellagio. Walked up and enjoyed that. One of the advantages to Las Vegas is they do have a lot of free entertainment and things like that. But something else for you to keep in mind when it comes to like water especially is that even the casinos don't even have drinking fountains. So literally if you don't have bottled water and don't want to pay $6 a bottle, you literally just have to fill up the water from the tap. Now, granted, the tap water does not require boiling. It's not dangerous there or anything. But, if you're anything like me and you're a little bit more of a health nut, you probably aren't a big fan of that. So that is where, being able to go to the grocery store and actually get a bunch of bottled water is a really good idea. Then right here we have some of the fountains at the Bellagio. This was just outside after I had gone in and looked at the atrium. And so the other thing that I really wish that we had done ahead of time was to really look up menus of restaurants and things ahead of time to really get a sense of distance wise where were things outside of the resorts and become more familiar with what the menus are and the restaurants are at the resorts. It sounds kind of silly and stupid, especially for somebody like me who travels a lot and has health restrictions. I don't do gluten, and I really try to avoid dairy as much as possible. And really, when I'm not traveling, I try to stick to more of the paleo diet, so I don't even eat a lot of grains. And so you would think I should have planned ahead and researched more, but I didn't really. I kind of just assumed that once we got there, we'd figure out where things were and that kind of stuff, but really wished that I had planned better and looked at the menus. Okay, so then here we have a picture of me outside of the Blue Man Group at Luxor. I have to say, this is one of the better shows that we went to. We really, really enjoyed it. And like I said, Luxor had the Diablo Cantina that we were able to eat at, which was a reasonable price. But yeah, so these are just some of the tips that I wanted to share with you about healthy eating in Las Vegas. And so if you have a trip planned up to Las Vegas, I'd love to have you tell me about it and tell me what kinds of things you're looking forward to. If you have been there a lot or if you even live there, if you have a favorite place, I'd love to hear about it since I don't know when or if I'm going to go back to Vegas at any point, probably not soon. But like I said, since I do live in Utah, it's not super far away from me, so I may end up there again at some point, and would love to know what your tips are for healthy eating without having to break a bank, and ideally without renting a car, just because, especially if you're going to shows on the Strip, which is one of the main reasons that it really is the whole reason that my mom and I went to Vegas. We didn't want to have to deal with, renting a car and then having to stay off a strip and park it and all that stuff, because that just gets really expensive. So anyhow, I hope that if you're watching this and you have an upcoming trip to Vegas, that you found this helpful for some good healthy eating in Las Vegas tips. If you would like this video, share it with anybody else you feel like could benefit, and please subscribe to the channel as I'm going to be doing another series of additional videos on healthy eating in different cities around the world.